Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I'm going to be acting as your personal writing tutor today. We are tackling one of the absolute most stressful, nail-biting parts of academic and professional writing. Yeah, I'm talking about citations. We've literally all been there, right? Staring at a blinking cursor, terrified of making a mistake. Well, don't worry. We're going to dive right into this and turn that anxiety into total confidence.
So picture this. You've just crafted the absolute perfect sentence. It flows beautifully, it supports your thesis to a T, and it is loaded with a great factual point. But then that little voice in the back of your head whispers, wait, do I really need to cite that fact? It's a completely valid anxiety. Nobody wants to be accused of plagiarism, but at the same time, nobody wants to clutter up their beautiful prose with a million unnecessary footnotes. It's a confusing dilemma, for sure. Knowing exactly when a citation is required can honestly feel like trying to hit a moving target.
Section 1. The Common Knowledge Dilemma. Defining the gray area.
So here's the core concept that trips up so many novice writers. It's this incredibly elusive idea of common knowledge. Look at that definition with me. Common knowledge is what an average person in a specific group knows. Notice what it doesn't say. It does not say common knowledge is some universal truth known by every single human being on planet Earth. Not at all. The definition of common knowledge depends entirely on the specific group of people reading your work. And that is a massive light bulb moment for a lot of writers. Moving on to Section 2, defining your specific audience. Who is reading your work? Since common knowledge totally shifts based on the reader, you, as the writer, really have to evaluate exactly who the average reader of your paper is actually going to be. To help you do this, our source material provides a brilliant audience assessment checklist. The crucial takeaway here is that you can evaluate your audience's baseline knowledge by looking at two major factors. First up, identify specialized interests. Ask yourself, does your reader belong to a group with specific hobbies or passions? And second, assess professional or activist involvement. Basically, does your audience have a deep background in a specific movement or a really specialized professional field? By answering just these two questions, you start to map out exactly what your readers already have in their heads. Let's put this into perspective with an example, because this brilliantly illustrates the first part of our checklist. Imagine you're writing about the rules of football. If your audience is made up of die-hard football fans, the rules of the game are absolutely considered common knowledge. You wouldn't need to cite a source to explain what a touchdown is. But if you're writing for general readers, people who might be entirely unfamiliar with the sport, those exact same rules suddenly become uncommon information. It's wild, right? A specialized hobby drastically shifts the baseline of what actually needs a citation. Now, let's take that exact same logic and apply it to professional or activist involvement. Our source material points out that information regarding climate change, like highly specific field data, might be considered entirely common knowledge to scientists and activists who are deeply involved in that field. I mean, they deal with this data every single day. Yet that very same field data remains completely uncommon to a general reader. Deeply involved groups just view information fundamentally differently than a general audience does. Which brings us to Section 3, navigating the mixed audience, the real-world challenge. Let's be real for a second. The reality is that most academic or professional writing doesn't go to just one hyper-specific echo chamber of experts. You're usually writing for a mixed audience, which creates a really tricky scenario for you as the author. But in this scenario, the guidance is actually incredibly clear. If your audience is mixed, you must cite the fact. Because common knowledge is defined by the average person in a specific group, a fact that is completely obvious to one chunk of your audience might be entirely unknown to the rest. To ensure total clarity across all reading levels in a mixed group, you just have to provide the citation. So why is this an absolute must? Because you literally cannot leave your less informed readers in the dark. The primary risk of skipping a citation in a mixed audience is that you isolate the readers who don't share that specialized background. You're basically throwing what they consider uncommon information at them, but leaving them completely without a reference point to verify it or even learn more about it. As a writer, your job is to guide your reader. You definitely don't want to abandon them. Let's hit Section 4, the golden rule when in doubt. Okay, so we've talked about evaluating your audience, and we've talked about the headaches of a mixed readership. Now, I want to give you the ultimate, foolproof mental framework to eliminate your citation anxiety forever. Ready? Err on the side of caution. Because it can be incredibly difficult to perfectly guess what every single average person in your audience knows, the absolute safest approach is to just include the citation. When you're unsure if everyone shares the exact same knowledge level, do not gamble. Protect your work, protect your integrity, and simply err on the side of caution. To really drive this home, look at this definitive quote directly from our source material. Anything that is factual could use a citation. It is literally as straightforward as that. If you're doubting whether a reader knows a piece of information, make simple factuality your ultimate baseline. If it's a fact, it can benefit from a citation, regardless of how common it might seem to a few specific members of your audience. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to chew on the next time you're staring down that blinking cursor. If you left out your citations today, who would be left in the dark tomorrow? Remember, citing your sources isn't just about dodging a plagiarism charge. It's about fulfilling your responsibility to your readers. It's about ensuring clarity, building trust, and making sure nobody gets left behind. Apply this foolproof rule, evaluate your audience carefully, and you are always going to cite with confidence. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and happy writing.